the COP29 here in Baku, Azerbaijan is still attracting incredible voices from all walks of life. HICGI News Agency is joined by Dr. Jibril. Could you please introduce yourself with all these great titles you are having here in Baku?
This is Dr. Jibril Semakula Owomugisha, and the Uganda's representative to the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, all about mobilizing state partners to recover their efforts towards land restoration as we gain our indigenous forest recovery. Yes.
Talking about indigenous forestry cover, there have been new breeds of trees that some people are encouraging people to plant as part of afforestation. But when you give emphasis to indigenous trees, we've recently also had the same campaign with the Senior Presidential Advisor on Environment, Professor Gilbert Bukenya, also eyeing the same thing. What is so special about the indigenous afforestation?
What you have to understand, for example, the Uganda's forest recovery was at 24% in 1990. This was a cover of indigenous trees. They were Buja ugandensis, terminalia, trees whose gestation period goes up to 50 years and above. That when you are talking about carbon sequestration, carbon storage, the lifespan of a tree, the size, all that's what makes an indigenous tree very much favorable. Additionally, they have their indigenous component of adding value to the soil as far as nitrogen fixation is concerned, microbes, unlike the current exotic trees. So when you talk about recovering the indigenous forest recover, I mean if Uganda lost the forest cover up to 8.9%, that is in 2017. But because of multiple efforts, multiple stakeholders, now the forest recovery is at 13% in Uganda. However, this is not enough because of the global trend as far as emissions are concerned. You understand? So as the rate of deforestation increases, we must double the rate of afforestation at a global state. What do I mean here? Here we shall be directly outcompeting the expected negative impacts of global development as far as emissions are concerned. We are here at COP, where we refer it as Climate Finance COP, whereby everyone is eyeing on being financed towards land restoration, towards the minimization of the emissions. And as a country, Uganda, we are already at a stage of transforming from conventional industrial policy to green industrial policy. Here I mean electric cars. You have seen the president launching these vehicles, the use of these electric engines, batteries, lithium batteries across the country. The intention is we minimize the rate of combustion engines in the country. This must be duplicated at a global state. That if Uganda, our global emission, like contribution to the emissions, cannot even raise up to 0.1%. It is just 0.01%. But other countries like China, USA, they are over 10% contribution on global emissions, the so-called the global north. That we as Africa, we are at the receiving end.
We're paying for sins we never committed.
Very good. That to some extent, we are suffering the negative impacts of their development. That's why you hear in COPs, Africa, we are seen as beggars because we are the we are at the begging end, asking them to commit and fulfill. It's not about committing, it's about fulfilling their commitments. Yes.
I was yesterday in the presidential meeting where African heads of state were saying that enough to just getting pickups. I mean, they're no longer interested in handouts.
This is very much timely because it's time of implementing or taking actions. When you keep in rooms negotiating, you may have no purpose served on the ground. But come up and fulfill the commitments. If you read about the loss and damage fund was accredited and endorsed by in COP 27.
Egypt, is that?
Egypt. But up to now, we have not received the commitments from these global emitters. So you find that we are at a stage of just moving miles, coming here, discussing, and we stop from there. That's why Africans are so standing still to say we need this implemented. We need evaluation reports. If we discussed it last year, should we repeat the same next year? Why are we foregoing it ahead? Let's have it done there and then.
Those who are running it, of course, will make some promises, but how strong are you able to convince them so they can be in position to respect your ideas?
We stand at a position of asking for unity as Africa, having one language, that is as negotiators from Africa, that if we come up with a standing point as one, it increases our bargaining power.
Yes.
If the global north says we face down fossil fuel use, and in Africa, like Uganda, we have just discovered very good. We say phase down instead of phasing out, because even if we do exploit our oil, at least to the maximum, our emissions won't raise even up to 1%. So meaning it's like a nurse guiding the teens not to be pregnant when she's already pregnant.
Does the European Union know that, because they've been so vocal
It's
at
us.
stopping the oil pipeline?
It is us to send them the right information.
Will they listen?
That we as a country, we already have strategies in place to combat or to minimize the expected impacts of this project.
Back to land reclamation and farmers, encouraging farmers to grow trees.
When I talked about the forest recovery, there is what we call conservation forestry, and this is aimlessly done on government land, that is the Central Forest Reserves, community forests. But there is what we call commercial forestry, where farmers actively take part. For example, in Uganda, the largest piece of land is owned by the private farmers. So what do we need here as a country? How can we interest these people, the landowners, into conservation forestry? They do change their mindset from commercial forestry, where they plant and cut, to tree growing, where the trees will be served with a purpose. Here the concept of carbon crediting comes. For example, we have the Grow Foundation, whose objective is to attract farmers into afforestation programs with the purpose of growing and keeping the forests with their land. In this way, you may talk about the agroforestry programs, where a tree has been grown for food security in terms of fruits. You are promoting the environmental protection by reserving a tree in place. You are talking about household income by selling the fruits when the tree is already flowering. Yes.
But are you telling your government that as much as you're doing efforts to protect the environment, until when you stop also charcoal burning, there's nothing that you're doing?
It is very true. We must have seen a lot of writings from the Office of the President, from the Minister of Rural Environment, banning charcoal production, especially from the northern part of Uganda. This is very true. But let's first know, why is this the main business in the area? It is the main source, it is the sole source of income to these local people, local dwellers of this area. So without an alternative source of income, we may not stop the vice of charcoal burning. Similarly, who are the consumers of this charcoal? We are the persons in Kampala,
Because I've
in
seen
Mbalala,
the traffic people allowing those cars with charcoal passing.
because we cannot afford the high electric tariffs. As renewable energy campaigners, the Minister of Energy should say, we are transforming from high tariffs of charcoal to lower tariffs, to enable the house at household level to use this energy as a cooking fuel. Instead of buying a charcoal, a circle of charcoal, you rather pay electricity and cook from home. You rather call for biofuels, I mean the biogas, with you. If you have been in Tanzania, you must be aware that they are the largest users of biofuel, biogas. And they are living. We're exploiting oil now. We have the residues of this project. They are enough to generate bioenergy, biogas, which will be used at the household level to minimize the demand or to compete the demand of charcoal. There our forest cover will be preserved.
And as we wind up, what are your expectations in this COP29?
Of course, from this COP, we expect the beginning of implementing the commitments.
Commitments?
Yes. It's all about committing and fulfilling, not just committing and we continue. No. That's what we expect as the country.
It is about fulfilling the commitments, not continuing to make promises. This is the message that Dr. Jibril is giving to the world leaders who are convening here at COP29 in Azerbaijan. HSCI News Agency will continue to give you more interactions with global citizens on what is their take. My name is Chivumbi Ernest Benjamin.